The alarm screamed through the cargo bay just as Danny Martinez opened his stupid mouth. He stood frozen, wrench still in hand, staring at Commander Kira Voss as she spun around from the weapons console. Her silver combat suit caught the emergency lights, and Danny's brain chose that exact moment to malfunction. I mean, for a human, you've got the most perfectly engineered posterior muscle structure I've ever analyzed, he blurted, his face turning the color of a Martian sunset. The klaxons continued wailing. Red lights painted the metal walls in bloody strokes. Somewhere 3 decks above them, something had just punched through the hull of the Earthship Valiant. But Kira wasn't moving. She was staring at Danny with those ice-blue eyes that had intimidated enemy pilots across 6 star systems. "You picked now to say that?" she asked, her voice deadly calm. Danny wanted to disappear into the floor plating. He'd been working with Kira for 8 months on this deep space patrol mission. 8 months of keeping his thoughts to himself. 8 months of professional conduct. And now, with alien warships descending on their position, his mouth had betrayed him. "I'm sorry, Commander. I didn't mean to." "Save it," Kira interrupted. She grabbed her helmet from the bench and locked it into place. "We've got Zelthran raiders, breaching Deck 7. The captain's dead. So is everyone in the bridge crew." Danny's stomach dropped. The Zelthran were notorious across the galaxy for their brutality. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't negotiate. They just harvested whatever biological matter they needed and left the rest floating in space. "How many?" Danny asked, forcing himself to focus. "Scans show 40 boarders. Maybe more." Kira pulled her plasma rifle from its mount. "We've got 18 crew members left alive, scattered across the ship. Communications are down. Life support is failing on decks 3 through 6. Danny's hands shook as he grabbed his own weapon. He was a mechanic, not a soldier. He'd joined the Space Corps to fix engines, not fight aliens that stood 9 feet tall and could rip steel bulkheads apart with their bare claws. "Here's what's going to happen," Kira said, checking her ammunition count. "You're going to follow me to the engine room. We're going to get the main reactor back online. Then we're going to vent every other deck into space and kill these things." "That's insane," Danny protested. "We'll kill our own people." "Our people are already dead," Kira replied flatly. She turned to face him fully, and Danny saw something terrifying in her expression. Not fear, not even anger. Just cold calculation. "Everyone on decks 3 through 7 is gone. The ones on decks 1 and 2 have maybe 10 minutes before the Zelthran find them. Our only chance is to get power to the weapons grid and blow their ship before they extract what they came for." "What did they come for?" Danny asked. Kira's jaw tightened. Before Danny could process that information, an explosion rocked the cargo bay. The far wall buckled inward, and a section of plating tore free. Through the gap, Danny saw something that made his blood freeze. A Zelthran warrior squeezed through the opening, its 4 arms ending in curved blades that gleamed like oil. Its face was a nightmare of mandibles and compound eyes. "Move!" Kira shouted. She fired 3 shots, each one striking the creature's torso. It stumbled, but didn't fall. Danny ran, his boots pounding against the deck as Kira laid down covering fire. They reached the emergency hatch just as 2 more Zelthran pushed through the breach. Kira slammed the hatch control, and the heavy door began to grind shut. One of the aliens lunged forward, its blade arm shooting through the narrowing gap. Kira ducked under the strike and put her rifle barrel against the creature's wrist. She pulled the trigger, and the limb dropped to the floor, still twitching. The hatch sealed with a hydraulic hiss. "Engine room," Kira gasped, already running down the corridor. Now, Danny followed Kira through the twisted maze of corridors, his mind still reeling from her revelation. Why would the Zelthran specifically want her? He'd read the reports about their raids. They harvested biological samples, sometimes entire crews, for their genetic experiments. But targeted extraction? That was new. They descended 2 levels using the emergency ladders, bypassing the elevators that had lost power. The ship groaned around them, metal stress singing through the bulkheads. Danny could smell smoke and something else. Something organic and wrong that made his stomach churn. "Contact, left side," Kira barked. Danny spun and saw a Zelthrin emerging from a side passage. This one was smaller, maybe only 7 feet tall, but faster. It moved like liquid shadow, closing the distance before Danny could even raise his weapon. Kira was faster. She dropped to one knee and fired a burst that caught the creature in its leg joints. It crashed down, shrieking in a frequency that made Danny's teeth ache. Kira didn't give it a chance to recover. She put 2 rounds through its head and kept moving. "You're going to explain why they want you," Danny said between breaths as they ran. "Later. Engine room first." They reached the main engineering deck and found the massive doors sealed tight. Kira swiped her command code on the panel, but nothing happened. "Emergency lockdown," she muttered. Someone activated it from inside. "That means survivors," Danny said hopefully. Kira pounded on the door with the butt of her rifle. Silence. Then a voice crackled through the door's speaker, thin and terrified. "Commander? Is that really you?" "Peters, open this door right now," Kira ordered. "I can't, ma'am. The Zelthrin. They're everywhere. If I open it, they'll get in." Danny recognized the voice now. Lieutenant Gary Peters, a young officer fresh out of the academy. Good kid, but green. Too green for this nightmare. "Peters, listen to me," Kira said, her voice softening slightly. "Those things are after me, not you. If you don't open this door, they'll cut through it anyway. At least give us a chance to fight them off together." A long pause. Then the locks disengaged with a heavy thunk. The door slid open, revealing Peters standing alone in the engine room, his uniform torn and blood-stained. But it wasn't his blood. Behind him, Danny could see 3 bodies. The rest of the engineering crew, torn apart. "They came through the ventilation shaft," Peters said, his voice hollow. "I was the only one who made it to the weapons locker." Kira moved past him, her eyes scanning the massive reactor core that dominated the center of the room. Warning lights flashed across multiple consoles, indicating cascade failures in a dozen systems. "Danny, I need you on that console," she said, pointing to the main engineering station. "Get me a damage report. Full diagnostic." Danny's fingers flew across the controls, calling up system after system. What he saw made his mouth go dry. "Commander, the main reactor is offline. Backup generators are failing. We've got maybe 20 minutes before life support completely crashes. Can you restart the reactor?" Danny pulled up the startup sequence protocols. His eyes widened as he saw the problem. "The coolant system is completely fried. If I restart the reactor without coolant, we'll have a meltdown. We'll vaporize half the ship. And if you don't restart it, we all die anyway," Kira replied. "Plus everyone on Earth when the Zelthrin finish what they started here." "What are you talking about?" Peters asked. "What's special about Earth?" "The Zelthrin raid colonies all the time." Kira was silent for a moment, her hand resting on her sidearm. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, almost vulnerable. "Because I'm not human." Danny's hands froze over the console. Peters took a step backward, his rifle coming up slightly. "What?" Danny whispered. Kira reached up and touched a spot behind her right ear. Her skin rippled, and suddenly, the illusion fell away. Her features shifted, became sharper, more angular. Her eyes changed from blue to a golden amber color that seemed to glow in the emergency lighting. Strange markings appeared on her skin, flowing patterns that looked almost like circuitry. "I'm Viridian," she said. "The last of my kind." Danny's brain struggled to process what he was seeing. The Viridians were a myth, a story told in academy classes about a race so advanced they'd supposedly ascended beyond physical form. But here was Kira, solid and real and definitely physical. "The Zelthrin destroyed my homeworld 6 years ago," Kira continued. They harvested my entire species for our genetic code. We had the ability to interface directly with technology, to merge our consciousness with machines. The Zelthrin want that ability. They've been hunting the survivors ever since. But why infiltrate Earth's military? Peters demanded. Because Earth is next, Kira said simply. The Zelthrin have been preparing for an invasion for years. They needed to study human military capabilities, learn your tactics, your weapons. So I volunteered to embed myself in your ranks, to learn everything I could. So when the invasion came, I could help you fight back. Danny felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. 8 months. He'd worked beside her for 8 months, never suspecting, never guessing. And now she stood there, alien and familiar at the same time, while their ship died around them. How do we know you're telling the truth? Peters asked. How do we know you're not working with them? Because if I was, you'd already be dead, Kira replied. She turned back to Danny. Can you get me into the ship's main computer core? Why? Danny asked. Because I'm going to do something I swore I'd never do again. Kira's expression was grim. I'm going to merge with the ship. Danny's eyes widened. That's suicide. The feedback alone would fry your nervous system. Probably, Kira agreed. But it's the only way to get enough power to the weapons grid to destroy the Zelthrin ship. And once they're gone, you can restart the reactor safely. There has to be another way, Danny protested. Kira smiled, and for a moment she looked completely human again. You know what I thought when you made that comment about my butt? Danny blinked, confused by the sudden change of subject. What? I thought, finally. Someone on this ship sees me as a person, not just a commanding officer. Even if you picked the worst possible moment to say it. She laughed, a sound that was equal parts humor and despair. Thank you for that, Danny. For seeing me. Before Danny could respond, the emergency lights flickered and died. Backup power kicked in, bathing the engine room in a sickly red glow. A new alarm began wailing. This one deeper, more urgent. Hull breach on this deck, Peters said, checking his handheld scanner. Section C. That's 2 corridors over. They're coming, Kira said. She moved to the main console and began typing rapidly. Danny, I need you to bypass the safety protocols on the computer core. Give me full access. Danny's hands moved automatically, muscle memory taking over while his brain still struggled with everything he'd learned in the last 5 minutes. The woman he'd been quietly falling for over 8 months wasn't even human, and now she was planning to kill herself to save them. Done, he said. But Kira, please, there has to be another option. Lock this door behind me, Kira ordered, ignoring his plea. She checked her rifle one last time. The computer core is 3 rooms away. I'll make it there, initiate the merge, and give you enough power to restart the reactor and charge the weapons. When you see the Zelthrin ship explode, that's your signal. Get everyone to the escape pods and get off this vessel. What about you? Danny asked, hating how his voice cracked. Kira met his eyes, and in her alien features he saw something achingly human. I'll be part of the ship. I'll be able to feel every system, every circuit. Maybe I'll even be conscious enough to guide the escape pods to safety. She paused. Or maybe I'll just cease to exist. Either way, it's been an honor serving with you, mechanic. She turned toward the door, but Danny grabbed her arm. Wait, what you said before, about the Zelthrin coming to Earth. How much time do we have? Their invasion fleet is gathering at the edge of your solar system, Kira replied. Maybe 3 months. Maybe less. That's why I was on this patrol route. I was looking for their staging point. Did you find it? Peters interjected. Yes. It's why they attacked us today. They knew I'd discovered their location. Kira pulled a data chip from her belt. This has everything. Coordinates, fleet composition, battle plans. Get it to Earth Command. It's humanity's only chance. She pressed the chip into Danny's palm. Her fingers were warm, her touch gentle. For a moment, They just stood there. Two people from different worlds, connected by something neither of them fully understood. "For what it's worth," Danny said quietly, "I meant what I said. You're beautiful. All of you. Human-looking or not." Kira's golden eyes softened. "And for what it's worth, I was planning to ask you out when we got back to Earth. There's a coffee shop near the spaceport that supposedly has the best chocolate cake in the system." "I know the place," Danny replied. "The Blue Comet. That's the one." The moment shattered as something massive slammed into the outer door. The metal buckled, claw marks appearing in the reinforced steel. "Go!" Peters shouted, raising his rifle toward the door. Kira sprinted toward the computer core access corridor. Danny started after her, but Peters grabbed him. "She gave you an order, mechanic. Lock the door." Danny's finger hovered over the control panel. Through the small window in the door, he could see Kira disappearing down the hallway. Then, he saw the Xelthrin. 5 of them poured through a side passage, cutting off her route. Kira didn't hesitate. She dove forward, rolling under the first creature's blade strike, and came up firing. Her shots were precise, professional, each one finding a weak point in the alien's armored carapaces. But there were too many. One of them caught her rifle with its blade, tearing the weapon from her hands. Another grabbed her from behind, lifting her off her feet. Kira twisted, her elbow striking the creature's throat. It gurgled and dropped her. Danny watched in horror as Kira fought bare-handed against impossible odds. She moved like water, like lightning, every motion. Perfect. Her Viridian enhancements made her faster than any human, stronger than any human. But even she couldn't fight 5 Xelthrin warriors at once. "We have to help her," Danny said, reaching for the door controls. "She told us to lock it," Peters replied, but his voice wavered. Through the window, Danny saw Kira go down. A blade sliced across her shoulder, spraying blood. She cried out but kept fighting. Her fist connected with a Xelthrin's face, and the creature's head snapped back with a sickening crack. Then something changed. Kira's skin began to glow, the circuit-like patterns across her body blazing with golden light. She threw her head back and screamed, and the sound wasn't human at all. It was digital, mechanical, a signal broadcast across every frequency. The lights in the corridor began to flicker. Then they started to explode. One after another, glass raining down. The Xelthrin stumbled back, confused. Kira stood in the center of the chaos, her entire body incandescent. "She's doing it," Peters breathed. "She's merging." Without the computer core, Danny realized Peters was right. Kira was interfacing directly with the ship's systems through the power conduits in the walls. It was killing her. He could see her body beginning to break down, skin cracking, blood vessels bursting beneath the surface. But it was working. The engine room's main console suddenly blazed to life. System after system came online, power flooding through circuits that had been dead moments before. The reactor core began to hum, its startup sequence initiating automatically. "Danny, the weapons grid!" Peter shouted. "She's giving us targeting control." Danny tore his eyes away from Kira and sprinted to the weapons console. His fingers danced across the controls, bringing up the external cameras. Through the static-filled feed, he could see the Xelthrin ship, a massive wedge-shaped vessel latched onto the Valiant's hull like a parasite. "Target locked," Danny reported. "All missile tubes online. Main railgun charged to 80%. Fire everything," Peters ordered. Danny's finger slammed down on the firing stud. The Valiant shuddered as every weapon in its arsenal unleashed at point-blank range. Through the camera feed, Danny watched missiles impact the Xelthrin ship's hull, railgun rounds punching through its armor like tissue paper. The alien vessel tried to detach, its engines flaring. But Kira had locked their docking clamps. Trapped, the Xelthrin ship absorbed the full fury of the Valiant's broadside. Then it exploded. The shockwave hit the Valiant like a hammer. Danny was thrown across the room, slamming into a bulkhead. Alarms screamed. Emergency systems kicked in, force fields activating to seal hull breaches. Through it all, Danny could feel Kira's presence in the ship's systems, guiding them, protecting them. When the shaking finally stopped, Danny picked himself up and ran to the door. The window showed an empty corridor. The Zelthrin were gone, either blown into space or vaporized in the explosion. And Kira was gone too. Danny slapped the door control, and the lock disengaged. He stumbled into the corridor. Peters close behind him. The air smelled like ozone and burned metal. Emergency lights cast everything in shades of red and shadow. "Kira!" Danny shouted. His voice echoed off the walls, swallowed by the damaged ship's groaning structure. No response. They found her 20 meters down the corridor, collapsed against a bulkhead. Her human disguise was completely gone now. The viridian markings covered her entire body, still glowing faintly, like dying embers. Blood leaked from her nose, her ears, the corners of her eyes. Danny dropped to his knees beside her. "Kira? Can you hear me?" Her golden eyes fluttered open. They struggled to focus on his face. "Yes. The Zelthrin ship is destroyed. You saved us." Danny pulled off his jacket and pressed it against the wound on her shoulder. "Peters, get a medical kit. Now." But Kira reached up and caught his hand. "Don't. It's too late. No. We can fix this. We can get you to a medical bay. Put you in stasis." "Danny." Her voice was weak but firm. "Merging like that, without proper protocols, without the right equipment, it burned out my neural pathways. I can feel myself shutting down. System by system." Tears blurred Danny's vision. "This isn't fair. You just saved everyone on this ship. You saved Earth." "Not yet," Kira replied. She squeezed his hand with what little strength she had left. "The data chip. You have to get it to Earth Command. Make them understand the Zelthrin are coming. Make them prepare." 5. "I will, I promise." Kira smiled. And even dying, even with alien features, she was the most beautiful thing Danny had ever seen. "You know what the funny thing is? When you blurted out that comment about my butt, I was so surprised that a human would notice something that trivial. My people. We don't really think about physical appearance the way you do. Everything is function, efficiency, purpose." "I shouldn't have said it," Danny said, wiping his eyes. "No, I'm glad you did." Kira's breathing was becoming labored. "It made me feel normal. Made me feel like maybe I could belong here, with your species, like maybe I could have a life beyond just being a soldier." Peters returned with the medical kit, but Kira waved him off. "Save it for the others." "I'm beyond medical help. There are others alive?" Danny asked. 7 crew members, scattered across decks 1 and 2. "The ship's damage control systems are holding, but you need to get everyone to the escape pods within the hour. The reactor is stable for now, but I can't guarantee how long the repairs will last." "How do you know all that?" Peters asked. Kira tapped her temple, and Danny noticed that the glowing marks on her skin were fading. "I'm still partially connected to the ship, but the connection is breaking down. Another few minutes, and I'll be completely cut off." A thought struck Danny. "Wait. If you're connected to the ship, can you transfer your consciousness into the computer core? Like, permanently? Keep yourself alive in the system?" Kira's eyes widened slightly. I don't know. Maybe. But even if I could, what kind of existence would that be? Trapped in a damaged ship's computer, unable to feel, to touch, to experience anything beyond data streams. "It would be existence," Danny said fiercely. "It would mean you're alive. We can figure out the rest later. Maybe find a way to build you a new body, or transfer you to a more advanced system. But first, you have to survive." Kira looked at Peters. "What do you think, Lieutenant?" Peters knelt down beside them. "I think the mechanic has a point, ma'am. We've already seen you do impossible things today. Why stop now?" The The transfer would require a direct neural interface, Kira said slowly. And I'm too weak to make it to the computer core. Danny was already moving, pulling open wall panels to expose the data cables beneath. You don't need to get to the core. You just need a connection. He ripped out a fiber optic cable, then hesitated. This is going to hurt. Everything hurts right now, Kira replied. Do it. Danny exposed the end of the cable, revealing the optical interface connector. Kira tilted her head, and the marks on her neck began to shift, forming a matching port. Danny had seen a lot of strange technology in his years as a mechanic, but watching living tissue rearrange itself to accept a computer connection made his stomach flip. He plugged the cable in. Kira convulsed. Her back arched, and a scream tore from her throat. The lights in the corridor went crazy, flashing in rapid patterns. Danny's handheld scanner started beeping frantically, detecting massive data transfers through the ship's network. It's working, Peters said, watching his own scanner. She's uploading herself, but something was wrong. Kira's body was seizing, her muscles locked in spasm. The glowing marks on her skin were flickering erratically. The bandwidth isn't enough, Danny realized. Her consciousness is too complex. She needs more connections. He grabbed another cable, then another, exposing ports and plugging them into the interfaces that were appearing all over Kira's body. Each new connection made her scream, but the data transfer rate increased. Come on, Danny muttered. The seizures began to slow. Kira's breathing steadied. Her eyes, which had been rolling wildly, focused on Danny's face. It's working, she gasped. I can feel myself spreading through the system. It's like becoming the ship. Every sensor is an eye. Every circuit is a nerve. I'm everywhere. Just hold on, Danny urged. Keep the transfer going. Danny. Kira's physical voice was barely audible now. I need to tell you something. Before, I'm completely gone. You're not gone. You're right here. My body is dying. In a few seconds, it's going to shut down completely. And when it does, I'll exist only as data. Digital consciousness in a mechanical shell. But you'll be alive, Danny insisted. Will I? Kira asked. How do you define alive? Is it consciousness? Is it the ability to think and feel? Or is it the physical experience of existence? Danny didn't have an answer. He just held her hand and watched as the light slowly faded from her golden eyes. Thank you, Kira whispered. For seeing me. For caring about me. For giving me a chance at something beyond what I was. Then her body went still. The cable interfaces retracted, the ports sealing themselves. The glowing marks dimmed to nothing. Kira's features softened, her viridian characteristics fading, until she looked almost human again. Just a woman lying in a dark corridor, gone. Danny wanted to scream. He wanted to rage against the unfairness of it all. But before he could, the lights in the corridor began to pulse in a rhythmic pattern. Then, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Danny? Kira's voice. But different now. More mechanical, layered with digital artifacts. Danny, I'm here. I made it. Danny's heart hammered in his chest as he stared at the intercom speaker. Kira? Is that really you? It's me. Or at least, it's what I've become. Her voice echoed through the corridor, coming from every speaker simultaneously. I can't describe what this feels like. I am the ship now. Every system, every circuit, every sensor. I can feel the reactor's pulse like a heartbeat. I can sense the damage to the hull, like wounds on my skin. Can you feel emotions? Danny asked. Can you think like you used to? A pause. Then, yes, I'm still me. I still remember everything. The mission. The Xelthrin. Your terrible timing when you commented on my butt. There was a hint of humor in her digital voice. But it's different. Colors are wavelengths of electromagnetic radiation. Sounds are pressure variations in atmosphere. Everything is data, but I can still interpret it as experience. Peters stood up, checking his scanner. Commander, we're reading power fluctuations in multiple systems. Are you stable? Working on it, Lieutenant. Give me a moment to fully integrate with the ship's systems. The lights steadied, and the ambient hum of the engines became more regular. There, that's better. I've rerouted power around the damaged sections and reinforced the hull integrity fields. We're no longer in immediate danger of structural collapse. What about the other survivors? Danny asked, forcing himself to focus on the mission despite his turmoil. I'm reading life signs on decks 1 and 2. 6 crew members total, not 7 like I thought earlier. I'm sealing off the damaged sections and routing them to the nearest escape pod bay. Kira's voice softened. Danny, I need you to do something for me. Anything. Take my body to the medical bay. Put it in one of the stasis pods. Danny looked down at Kira's still form. Why? You're not in there anymore. I know. But it's still my body. And maybe, someday, if we survive this, if Earth survives, someone might figure out how to clone viridian tissue. Maybe I could have a physical form again. A pause. Or maybe I'm just not ready to let go completely. Danny gently lifted Kira's body. She weighed almost nothing, as if the life leaving her had taken her mass with it. Peters helped him carry her to the medical bay, where they carefully placed her in a stasis pod. The machine hummed to life, surrounding her body in a blue glow. Thank you, Kira said through the medical bay's speakers. Now, we need to focus on getting off this ship and getting that data to Earth. Danny pulled out the chip Kira had given him earlier. This contains everything about the Zelthran invasion plans, everything I could gather in 8 months of surveillance, fleet positions, weapon capabilities, strategic objectives. Earth Command will need months to mobilize a proper defense, and we're almost out of time. Then, let's get moving, Peters said. Where are the nearest escape pods? Gone. Deck 2, Bay 3. I'm bringing the other survivors there now. Kira's voice took on an urgent tone. But there's a problem. The Valiant is severely damaged. Even with my control, life support will fail completely in approximately 45 minutes. And the escape pods only have basic navigation systems. In this region of space, without a proper beacon, rescue could take weeks. Danny was already moving toward the escape pod bay, his mind racing through calculations. What if we don't use the escape pods for rescue? What if we use them to get the data back to Earth? That's a one-way trip, Kira said. The pods don't have enough range to reach Earth from here. 1. But they could reach the Mars orbital station. Danny countered. It's only 3 days away, at maximum burn. From there, we can get the data to Earth Command, within hours. Peters nodded. And once the data is delivered, they can send a proper rescue ship for us. You're assuming we survive long enough for rescue to arrive, Kira pointed out. The Valiant will be a dead ship in less than an hour. Danny reached the escape pod bay to find 5 crew members already there. He recognized a few faces. Lisa Chen from Communications, Marcus Webb from Navigation, 2 engineers named Kelly and Rodriguez, and a medical officer called Dr. Hammond. They all looked shell-shocked, their uniforms torn and blood-stained. Is it true? Lisa asked. Is Commander Voss really inside the ship's computer? Before Danny could answer, Kira's voice filled the bay. It's true, Chen. And I need all of you to listen carefully. We have approximately 40 minutes to evacuate this vessel. I'm going to load all of you into escape pods and set a course for Mars Station. What about you, Commander? Marcus asked. I'm staying with the ship. No, Danny interjected. We can transfer you to the escape pod's computer. It'll be cramped, but the escape pods don't have the processing power to contain my consciousness, Kira explained. If I try to transfer, I'll fragment. Parts of me will be lost. Then we upload you to the Mars station systems when we arrive, Danny insisted. By the time you reach Mars, I'll have less than 12 hours of functional existence left in the Valiant's systems. The damage is too severe. I'm degrading, Danny. Slowly but steadily. The bay fell silent, except for the hum of machinery. Danny felt something break inside his chest. They'd saved her only to lose her again. This time, permanently. There has to be a way, he said quietly. There is, Kira replied. But you're not going to like it. Tell me. I can transfer a compressed copy of myself, like a backup file, to the data chip you're carrying. It won't be complete. It'll be more like an echo of who I am, but it would contain enough of my consciousness to potentially be reconstructed later, given the right technology. Do it, Danny said immediately. Danny, you need to understand what this means. The copy won't be me. It'll be a version of me. One that stops developing at this moment. Meanwhile, I'll continue to exist here, in the ship, for the next few hours until the systems fail completely. We'll diverge. Become different entities. I don't care, Danny said fiercely. I care about giving you a chance. Any chance. Through the speakers, Danny heard something that sounded almost like a digital sigh. All right. Initiating transfer now. Peters, plug the data chip into the engineering console. Peters did as instructed. For several seconds, the console's screen filled with cascading code, moving too fast for human eyes to follow. Then, it stopped. Transfer complete, Kira announced. The chip now contains both the Zelthran invasion data and a compressed copy of my consciousness. Get it to Earth Command. Make them understand what's coming. Everyone into the pods, Danny ordered. Kira, set the navigation for Mars Station. Maximum burn. The crew began loading into the escape pods, 2 or 3 per pod depending on the design. Danny moved toward the last available pod. But Peters grabbed his arm. Martinez, you should know something, the lieutenant said quietly. The commander. She talked about you. Before all this happened, she told me she thought you were the only person on the ship who saw her as more than just a rank. Danny managed a weak smile. She told you that? Yeah. She was planning to ask you out when we got back to Earth. Some coffee shop near the spaceport. The Blue Comet, Danny replied. I know. The bay suddenly resonated with Kira's voice, strong and clear despite its digital nature. All pods are prepped and ready for launch. Danny, you need to get in now. Danny stepped into the final escape pod, but he didn't close the hatch yet. Kira, I need you to know something. I'm listening. When you asked me what I thought, back in the cargo bay, I didn't just mean your physical appearance. I meant all of you. The way you commanded with confidence, but never cruelty. The way you remembered everyone's birthday. The way you'd stay up late helping the new recruits adjust to deep space duty. His voice cracked. You're an amazing person. Kira. Voss. Kursla. Bodiada. Kurslesla. Kurslesla. Viridian, or human, or digital ghost. It doesn't matter. You're amazing. Danny. Kira's voice was soft, warm despite its mechanical undertones. When they rebuild me, if they rebuild me, I'm going to find you, and we're going to that coffee shop. I promise. I'll be waiting, Danny said. However long it takes. He sealed the pod hatch. Through the small viewport, he watched the bay doors open, revealing the star-filled void beyond. One by one, the escape pods launched, their engines flaring as they accelerated away from the dying Valiant. As his own pod launched, Danny pressed his hand against the viewport, looking back at the massive ship. Somewhere in that damaged hull, in circuits and processors and streams of data, Kira Voss existed, not human, not fully Viridian anymore. Godspeed, Kira, he whispered. Through his pod's communication system, her voice reached him one last time. Godspeed, Danny, take care of my echo. And Danny, that comment you made about my butt? I've had a few hours to process it now, and I've decided I'm flattered. Terribly timed, but flattered nonetheless. Despite everything, Danny laughed. Next time, I'll try to wait until we're not being invaded by murderous aliens. I'll hold you to that. Now go. Get that data to Earth. Save my adopted home. The communication link cut off as the escape pods jumped to maximum velocity. Danny watched the Valiant recede into the distance, becoming just another point of light among millions. Inside his flight suit, the data chip rested against his chest, containing the future of humanity and the echoes of an impossible woman. 3 days to Mars Station. Then weeks of debriefings, of convincing Earth Command that the threat was real, that an alien invasion force was gathering at the edge of their solar system. But that was a problem for later. Right now, Danny just stared out at the stars and thought about coffee shops, about chocolate cake, about a date that might never happen with a woman who existed only as data on a chip and memories in his heart. Behind him, the Valiant's running lights flickered one last time, then went dark. But somewhere in that darkness, for just a few more hours, Kira Voss still existed, still fought, still hoped, and that was enough.